In the first 3 chapters of my book, I talk about standards-based grading, social-emotional learning, and a developmental mindset. Well, in chapter 4, I blend standards-based and social-emotional learning in the same way we might mix red and yellow together to make orange. That secondary color is self-directed learning because it isn't a practice unto itself. It's a concept that comes out of standards-based and social-emotional learning. Like, for example, when students don't know which standards need to be mastered so they can be ready for the next grade level, they become dependent on their teacher to tell them whether they're ready or not. This restricts their capacity to become a self-directed learner. So from a standards-based self-directed perspective, it isn't enough to just teach the standards. We have to teach students how to use the standards as a set of pathways they can choose to follow in ways that make sense to them. But then it's the same thing with social-emotional learning, because even if students know what standards to master, they still need to be able to identify and self-regulate their emotions. So when they get confused or frustrated, they know what to do. But they also have to know how to set goals and monitor their progress in a way that makes sense to them so they can overcome the kinds of social obstacles that inevitably come up when working with others in a collaborative way. All of this is focused on helping students to learn about how they learn and about the learning process and what it feels like to work through that process in an iterative and ongoing manner. And so to help students and teachers visualize this process, I include in this chapter a visual model illustrating 5 aspects of self-directed learning: strengths, goals, resources, strategies, and product. These 5 aspects create a model that gives students a way of thinking about their learning process, but it also gives teachers a way of identifying and organizing their own approach, their own resources, and their own preference for goal setting and learning strategies. This chapter is all about that balance of ownership between the teacher and their students over the learning process. It's still a lot of work on both sides. Learning is change, and change is inherently an uncomfortable process. But what comes out of a self-directed approach to learning are students who are more capable, more competent, more autonomous, and more aware of their relatedness to each other as learners, as individuals with a shared language and a shared understanding of their purpose in and out of their time in that classroom.